Hey.
Hey, we need to have a conversation. You're very young. I don't want to hurt you.
I think I have power over you. Because I could make one call and you lose everything. Does that turn you on when I say that?
I'm curious what comes first, the premise or the title?
Oh, very interesting. The premise, definitely. I think for me, it's very important before I create anything, as if I created that much, but this is my third creation, is that I'm very specific on what the theme is and what I want to say and what my intention is. I had a specific question before I started writing, and that was, is it possible to love all the different parts of myself and not just the ones that I like to present to the outside world, but also the ones that are flawed and ugly and I'm ashamed of and I'm nervous about and I hate.
And then how do we land on the title? Because I think it's a very, even just this morning, I was trying to explain to someone what we mean by baby girl.
Yeah, so before I had the title, I knew that the tone of the movie, I wanted to have a tone that was playing with the sexual thrillers of the 90s. So it was full of tension and seduction and fun. But I also wanted it to be humorous. I really wanted it to be all about performing. So it starts with a fake orgasm. It ends with a happy ending, literally and figuratively speaking, and with a real orgasm. But of course, what is real? Because it's not a documentary, so it's still fake. So the whole movie kind of asks the question, when is something real? Can you really be yourself? What is that to be yourself? What is an authentic self? And are we always performing? You know, do I want to be the perfect mother, the perfect leader, the perfect daughter? Or can I actually be my true self? And so the title I was looking for had to have that kind of tone. And so for me, that stands for Baby Girl is, of course, ironic, right? Because it's all about this super powerful woman, but then she wants to be a baby. And also it's rebirth. You think you're watching a sexual film. No, for me, it's about someone in an existential crisis who wants to destroy her life in order to be reborn.
Did you have someone in mind when you were writing Romy? Could you imagine yourself thinking of someone like Nicole when you were?
No, I would never have imagined it. She contacted me after my first movie, Instinct, found me, and we started talking, and I worked for a while on a project that she brought me that I loved. But after Bodies, 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 I was convinced I needed to write something alone with all these demons that were still possessing me. I had to get them out of my system. And so when I write, I make it incredibly structured. But once I go into dialogue, into scenes, I have to act everything out in my room. But I also act out the dog, the man. Like, it's not that I see myself in those roles. It's just I have to physically feel it, feel the rhythm, see that it really makes sense and that it is actually actable for others. And so when she asked me, what is it called and what are you doing? And I said, Baby Girl. She immediately said, Baby Girl. And then later it turned out that her husband had a tattoo of Baby Girl in his neck. She speaks about this openly, so I can share it. So she was intrigued. And then when she read it, she immediately said, I want to do this. But I never would have dared to dream that she would have ever done it. So no, I didn't write it for her. I just wrote it for the woman or women in general.
What happens when Nicole takes Romy?
Well, what she said after she read it, she called me, and of course we talked about the essence of what it is to me, that it is really an existential crisis, and it's about someone who wants to liberate herself. And for me, the story is a cautionary tale of what happens when you do not accept the fact that you have a beast inside you. Single one of us has an animalistic side. And if you are in touch with that, it will be calm and sweet. But if you say, no, if I do enough Botox and ice baths and therapy, I'm going to be flawless, I'm going to be this perfect creature, then the beast will come out in ways that are risky and dangerous, as we just saw. And if she would have sat down, Antonio Banderas, before the movie started, and she would have said, I have these issues. If she would have just really communicated with him, I'm sure that he would have said, yeah, let's try that, And then the whole movie wouldn't have to take place.
Yeah, stories about these beasts and the shame and how it can gnaw at you if you don't look it in the eye. Like that moment when she says that all she wants to be is normal. It's so heartbreaking.
Yes, that's for me the core. That's how I feel every day. And I think for a lot of people, maybe in bigger ways or smaller ways, but that is a relatable feeling where you think, I'm an imposter, I'm an alien, I just want to be normal. I want to be the woman you like. I want to be what you like. Instead of that you think, but what do I like? And who am I? And why can I not be unapologetically my unique self. And so for me, I constantly feel that I'm crazy, that I'm weird, that I don't belong, that I shouldn't be here. And there's a lot of discussion, of course, about this movie, because you see this incredibly powerful woman who seems to be feminist, who seems to be also a wonderful mom and a beautiful wife, and then suddenly you see her crawling around and eating candy out of someone's hand. So understandably, it can be confusing for people. But I think life is confusing, and I think we're all incredibly conflicted, and there's all these different layers in ourselves, and we know what is good for us, but we often don't do what is good for us. And for me, making this movie is going into the areas in myself where I feel incredible shame, because I'm like, I am a strong woman. How is it that then I want a man to kind of like be dominating me or protecting me? And so I think it is very liberating to create stories about it, so that I can connect to other people like you here tonight and talk to you about it. And whether you want to dress up like a giraffe or a clown, as long as you do it in a safe space and you ask consent, there's nothing wrong with that. Then you should celebrate your kink. But this, of course, is happening because she doesn't allow that to be there. And that's why it comes out with a much younger man in a situation that is, of course, morally wrong.
I can't leave you without talking about the milk scene. Good girl.
Good
drinking
girl,
the
yes.
milk, which I think is, it's iconic, I will say it.
It happened to me, actually. I was in a play again in Antwerp, and everybody went home afterwards, and I had so much adrenaline, and I didn't want to go to the hotel. And nobody wanted to come with me to a bar, so I went to a bar and I ordered something like a Diet Coke or a cup of tea, something very boring. And there was a famous young actor, Belgium actor, that I knew of, but I'd never talked to, on the other side of the bar, much younger than I, much, much younger. And he ordered me a glass of milk. I was like, what? But I thought it was an incredible gesture. I thought it was so courageous. So to reward him, I drank the whole thing, which makes me totally nauseated. And then he just walked out of the bar. He never said anything to me, and I never had any physical relation with this man. But when I knew my story, I thought this was such an incredible moment in my life, and I will never forget it. And then I called this guy, got his number, and I said, would you mind if I put that in my movie? And he said, no, I would be proud. I'm like, yeah, of course. And that figures. And then I made up, and then I thought, yeah, but what would be a good endpoint? That is it. Like, I love a good like, what is it? And then, oh my God, he has to say good girl. And then when Harris Dickinson came into the picture, he said, are you serious? I can't say that. Like, how am I ever going to say that? And then I said, well, because I watched so many American movies, being a European theater actress, I always noticed that they whisper a lot. American actors, they go like, yeah, well. And so I was like, you just whisper it. It will sound more like natural. And you don't have to worry about, because he wouldn't believe himself to say, good girl. He would be like, that's insane. And then he did it, and it was so good. And he did it exactly right. Like, first take, I was like, oh my God. And I knew it was going to be, it's so sexy. And to me, that is the most sexual scene. They do not touch. One is on that side of the bar and the other one is over there. To me, sexuality is suggestion. Sexuality is a story. It's all in our heads. That's what I'm also trying to say with the end scene, when these two people that are in such a long marriage, they find their way back to each other, which I think is really beautiful. And they meet each other where they are, with everything that has happened and all the pain and all the forgiveness. And then he allows her to go into her own world and to see this story inside her head of this boy who's taming this dog, and maybe she is the dog or whatever, but he doesn't mind. And I think that's beautiful. I think monogamy is fantastic, but we are often surrounded by ghosts when we are together in a bed, and that is okay. And it's beautiful to be together and super intimate, but at the same time really truly accept the other for what he or she is. And that is what I'm trying to tell myself. I still am not living it at all, but it's a nice message.
I'm glad you finished with that, because I wanted to end with that final scene, because it feels aspirational.
Yes, to me, I'm single and living like a nun. Very aspirational. And I hope this will inspire me to finally go on a date or anything. But no, of course, I'm joking. But no, I hope that people can leave the theater and feel a sense of a hope of liberation, and maybe an encouragement to being our authentic self without shame. And especially women, but human beings in general, but especially women should learn that it is okay to ask for what you want and need, and you don't have to be ashamed. And it doesn't matter if it takes a little longer to climax, and it doesn't matter to talk about things that are scary to talk about. And I think our partners will be open to that and will only enjoy the communication. So this is a letter to myself and hopefully also to you.
And with that,
thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Happy holidays. 000. We gotta go.
we did it.